artificial intelligence at the intersection of suits and hoodies. I'm Tonya Hall for ZDNet and Tech Republic, and joining me is Johathan Lehr. He is the co-founder and general partner at Workbench. Welcome, Johathan.
Thanks so much for having me.
What does Workbench do, and what motivated you to co-found the company?
Sure. So Workbench is an enterprise-focused venture fund. Our whole team is based here in New York City, but we invest across the country. And really what we're trying to do at Workbench is rethink enterprise venture capital with a New York twist. And that really is predicated on both our past lives in corporate IT of the whole team, which is pretty unique in venture capital from an industry perspective. And number two, in New York, we have 52 of the Fortune 500, which when you're selling enterprise software is key because all the customers are here. And to answer your question of why I co-founded Workbench, in my past life at Morgan Stanley in technology, I was in a pretty unique role called the Office of the CIO there. And it was actually a lot of fun. We were tasked with meeting hundreds of startups a year, working with all the well-known venture capital firms that you would hear about, Sequoia, Benchmark, Excel, Andreessen Horowitz, Lightspeed. And we were figuring out which companies that they've invested in should we do business with as a vendor for either revenue opportunities or cost savings, and just to remain competitive in the industry. And in the task of meeting hundreds of companies a year, really noticed a pattern that far too many VCs hang out at the Stanford campus or the Google cafeteria trying to find people that would start their next company, and frankly, starting with the whiz-bang tech. But when you're selling into the enterprise, far too often people wouldn't think about things like the use case or have customer empathy to actually not just the technology side, but how does that map to business pain points internally? Now, the cool thing is when companies did solve a pain point that we had at Morgan Stanley, we had a pretty sophisticated process for working with even early stage enterprise startups and seeing success patterns there. Actually, there was a pot of gold waiting for a lot of these companies, and not just Morgan, but a lot of the other banks, healthcare companies, and media companies here in New York City. And the last piece around the road to Workbench is actually in my nights and weekends, I started the New York Enterprise Tech Meetup. It really was just in my nights and weekends a fun thing to do to bring together what we affectionately call here suits and hoodies, AKA corporates and startups. And what started as a monthly tech forum to bring 100 plus people together with those groups actually got on the radar of R. Donnelly, who, when they were looking to launch a venture initiative in New York in mid-2013, the CEO, Tom Quinlan, who was very forward-thinking, brought together me and my co-founder, and we had the opportunity to launch Workbench.
What are some of the trends you're seeing right now in machine learning and artificial intelligence, from enabling technology to applications?
Sure. So we definitely like to bucket things in both the infrastructure layer, which is that enabling tech side, as well as on the application front, looking at vertical AI. And just to start with the enabling tech on the infrastructure side, my colleague Vipin, who comes out of Bank of America IT beforehand, he recently penned an AI infrastructure landscape, which we post on our blog. And this was really a deep dive based on conversations that we have with a lot of machine learning executives at all of these big Fortune 500 buyers in New York. And really what we were trying to do is figure out, all right, AI, machine learning, data science, there's a ton of hype, but where are the real problems that people are putting budget dollars towards? What are the problems that they need to solve this year in order to get their jobs done well, earn their bonus, et cetera? And two key enabling tech challenges emerged. Number one was sort of at the beginning of this process of data science. And that's really around intelligent ETL and building data pipelines. And just to unpack that a little bit, what we mean is that people these days assume a data scientist is just going to take some data, build a model, and be able to push that out live and start having an impact. But usually people estimate 70 to 80% of a data scientist's time is actually spent cleaning up the data, preparing it. And there's actually been a new role that's emerged, or rather become more popular now, called the data engineer. And these people are really tasked with manipulating various data sets to bring them together to run analytics. And a lot of our research actually led us to a New York-based company called Datalog that is building these data pipelines. And they have a very easy to understand tagline, which is improving time to data. So whether you're a large telco, whether you're a large bank or whatnot, what they're helping data scientists internally do is pull from various data sets, both internally and externally, and they're helping people bring that data together so that people can then run various analytics, statistical queries, and build different models. On the other end of the spectrum, we do hear about the challenges of hiring data scientists, but not enough time had been spent talking about once a data scientist is in your organization, how do they take the models that they're building and actually put them into production so that they get used in the wild? And this actually led us to focus on deployment of data science models. And we invested in a company called Algorithmia based in Seattle. And what they're doing, they've coined a sort of DevOps for AI framework where they actually started out as a marketplace for algorithms, which is pretty cool because people could actually search for various things, whether it's image recognition or something around NLP and text. And via pretty easy, like one-click deployment, they were able to integrate these API calls and therefore integrate the models into their own work that they were building. A lot of the enabling tech that was powering this marketplace actually is solving a Fortune 1000 pain point around this model deployment so that the data scientist that builds on their own machine a specific model in a specific language could actually then go through the operational challenges related to setting up their infrastructure, making sure that there's multi-language support, getting the model out there, again, into the wild. And they took that power and now have brought it to the enterprise. So that's really on the infrastructure side, two of the key areas that we've been spending time with.
Explain the difference between democratizing and augmenting technology.
For sure. That's a perfect segue into the other side of the stack, which we look at, which is the application layer. So a lot of people, when they hear AI, well, they have a lot of different thoughts out there, but a lot of it is around fear for lost jobs. But we actually view it as a very strong enabler for many use cases. So if you look at another New York company that we invested in called X.AI, they have a very simple mission. They want to democratize access to assistance for everybody, specifically to schedule meetings. I'm sure you have that headache. I've dealt with it when I find time with our founders, find time for pitch meetings, find time with corporate executives. It's hard to find that time to initially meet, and then people end up rescheduling anyway. And what they've done is actually taken a very, very focused problem set of just meeting scheduling. And this company, X.AI, has virtual assistants called Amy and Andrew Ingram, which stand for AI. And they help you by simply CCing in Andrew and Amy. They can then take over and schedule meetings. And because of the fact that they're able to focus on this very focused problem set around meeting scheduling, they're able to build up a proprietary data set. They have ways that they learn over time, and each time that a person uses the system, it gets better for everybody else. And I call this democratization because here, even at Workbench, we're a team of 6. None of us can afford having an admin. We're a small fund, and there's plenty of other startups out there that would benefit from having people free up that time for meeting scheduling. Even in my days at Morgan Stanley, I wasn't a managing director, so I didn't have my own assistant too. And if you just think of all the back and forth that's frankly time wasted, what they do here is democratize this so everyone for $8 a month can sign up on X.AI and get a meetings, basically their own personal system for meeting scheduling.
All right, Johathan, probably the most important question of this conversation, and I have to know the answer. Tell me why everyone on the team at Workbench gets free HBO.
So we're all huge Game of Thrones fans. And one of the other ways we're different besides all coming from corporate IT backgrounds is, unfortunately, a lot of VC funds out there tend to be a little bit mercenary in their culture or spread out. But we actually kick off our Monday meeting every week talking about our weekends. And this actually started when Game of Thrones a few years ago. We were just talking about it in a meeting and not everyone had access to watch the videos. So we made sure that everyone on the team, as a small perk, gets HBO membership access so that we can talk about it as a team.
Johathan Lehr, co-founder and general partner at Workbench. Johathan, if somebody wants to connect with you, maybe they want to find out how to become a part of your team because they want HBO or they want to find out more about your work, how can they do that?
Sure. The best way is Twitter. I'm at Fendien, Fendien, or just go to our Workbench website and all of our team's emails are public there as well.
All right. If you guys want to find more of my interviews, you can do that right here on ZDNet or Tech Republic, or go to my website, tonyahall.net. I've got links to all my social sites. Thanks for watching.